answer first and then Latrell second. I think that works. So I'm going to ask you to define the role that you're running for within AS.
The Vice President of External Relations is in charge of any and all advocacy on behalf of associated students. The Vice President of External Relations also chairs the External Relations Board, which is under University Council, serves as one of the student votes on the University Senate, and is the official delegate to the California State Student Association on behalf of San Diego State University. The Vice President of External Relations shall also research, evaluate, and coordinate all efforts regarding the California State Legislature and any government relations that San Diego State, as associated students, will have with them. Thank you.
Yes! Woo!
All right, Latrell.
So VP of External Relations is the Chief Communications Officer of the 5 executive officer positions. I will be one of 5 of the most influential leaders here on campus that is able to speak on behalf of students and make sure that we maintain a healthy relationship with both our local and even international community. Representing San Diego, I realize that we represent a very diverse student population with a broad range of issues. Obviously, with our geography being placed to the border, we have a huge refugee population here in San Diego alone. So the role of the Vice President of External Relations is to be aware of these local issues, communicate that to the various student leaders here on campus, and also maintain healthy relationships with people off campus. I will be attending monthly meetings with CSSA, that's the California State Student Association, where I meet with other leaders across the state and the CSU system in order to advocate for our personal issues here, but also be attuned to what's going on across the CSU system. And like I said, I intend to represent and speak for all of our students here every single day.
For the next question, we're going to start with Latrell. Why are you running for VP of External Relations?
Well, the simple answer is I'm the most qualified candidate. I'm a junior here. I've studied under the College of Arts and Letters as a double major with Africana Studies and Political Science. So I understand how systems of power are constructed and how people who are typically marginalized and underrepresented can step in and make a difference in those systems. I intend to do so. I want to start by saying that I acknowledge that we stand on Kumeyaay land, and I'm very grateful for that. And I think we need to be more aware of the kind of space that we take up here as college students, as student leaders, as people who hope to make a difference, not only in the world, but of course, again, in our local San Diego community. I work tirelessly in volunteering efforts, leadership positions. I recently met with the superintendent of the Unified San Diego School District, so she's in charge of all public schools and high schools here in the local community. And I've been asking them questions. How do we get our students more involved? How do we allow our student leaders to feel supported? How do we empower students here to, again, be adopted by our local San Diego community and do their best to make a difference? I have done so in my 3 years here, and I hope to continue to do so next year as your next VP of External Relations.
Let's go, Michael!
All right, Michael, same question. Why are you running for this position?
I'm running for this position because I've seen the power that students have. When all voices come together under one roof, when we all amplify our voices, when we are empowered, when we are educated, we have power together. I'm running for this role because through my experience as Vice Chair of the External Relations Board, as a Justice on the Judicial Affairs Council, as Vice President of Internal Affairs for the College of Arts and Letters Council, through my experience in my 2 political internships in the office of Senator Connie Leyva and Congressman Mark Takano, I know the power that students can have to influence the legislature, to influence everything around us. We as San Diego State have power when all of our students come together, when we have experience, when we can really go out there and advocate on behalf of all students. We see a diverse campus, and we have a diverse range of issues to advocate for. So through my experience, come with me, let's elevate SDSU.
All right, thank you very much. So Michael, next question is for you. What does Elevate SDSU mean to you, since that is your campaign?
Okay, let's go.
So Elevate SDSU means to me challenge, change, and connect. We want to bring our campus higher than it's ever been before. We want to be elevated. Our campus grows every day. Many different things, new professors, more students, and through that, there are more issues that students face. And we want to challenge, change, and connect to elevate SDSU to reach its highest potential together as students. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the trail, well, his slogan is Elevate SDSU. What is there a word that you can use to kind of summarize what your platform is?
As I've said and as our supporters know, it's time. It's time to step up. It's time to make a difference. It's time to make a change. And it's time to empower students who have felt like for so long they have no voice here, who felt like they're not involved here, who feel like the student body government does not represent them. Year in and year out, we have what hovers around a 20% election turnout. Associated students should be ashamed of that. We need to reach all 30,000 students on this campus to empower them, to let them know that their voice matters, and to let them know that we stand with them, not for them. And so that being said, I'm starting a 30,000 vote campaign where I want local legislators to be aware of our political efficacy here as student leaders and a student body. And I want to expand that to the entire CSU system, which holds 500,000 higher education students, and let them know that our state legislators are going to take us seriously. Jerry Brown only funded 1/3 of the CSU funding request, and we want to let him know that if he's not going to protect us, we will not protect them. We stay here for the students. Thank you.
And let me apologize. We were meant to be giving you guys rebuttals, and I have not been doing that for some reason. So, would either of you like to use one of your rebuttals?
Is it like unlimited?
It's 30 seconds.
Okay. I just want us to all think critically. As a double major in the College of Arts and Letters, when you think critically about the name Elevate, you only go in one direction. You're staying with the same. You're doing the same things, either going up and down. And with its time, I'm trying to really translate the idea that we are making a change and we are doing something different with our leadership here. It's time for that. We are not going to remain patient. We're not going to remain year in and year out going with the same kinds of policies, the same kinds of faces of leadership. And myself, coming from a diverse background and representing diverse communities, I want to continue to do so and empower all students on this campus.
Thank you very much. Michael, you want to use one of your rebuttals?
Yes, please.
Okay, for sure.
I would just like to say that I would like to empower all students to vote, whether it's associated students, whether it's outside of associated students. In the United States, our age group, the millennials, have about 20% voting rate all across the board. We need to change that. And there's only one direction to go, and that's up. So elevate SDSU.
Exactly. Hello. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Why would we want to go any other direction but up?
One second.
Let's chat. What's up? You want to go down? You want sideways? Diagonal?
Gotta scoop them all though, right?
I mean, yeah, but we won't.
All right.
And then elevate.
So
Everyone
But we are
last night,
supposed to
Daily has
elevate, though,
published a
that's
story
the
about a
thing.
social
Historically,
moratorium on some of the fraternities on campus. I just want to know your opinion on that social moratorium and what that means for Greek life going forward next year.
I believe that the social moratorium for Greek life, more specifically the Interfraternity Council, was a very smart move to make. Given their history, they needed a moment to regain themselves. And I definitely believe that we should all take this opportunity to look back to what we came from. The social moratorium, for those of you who do not know, is interfraternity councils had decided to suspend social events until they have decided to continue. And I believe that Greek life should stay on campus. I believe that we should support Greek life because there's so many benefits that it brings to this campus, and the negatives are things that we just need to work through as a campus, and I believe that we should keep Greek life on campus.
All right. Same question for you, Latrell. What is your opinion on the social moratorium, and what does it mean going forward for Greek life on campus?
Yeah, so I want to start by clarifying, I do not affiliate with any Greek organizations except for my honor society, Pi Sigma Alpha. We're really proud of what we're doing. But as far as the social Greek orgs here, they are just as much a part of the student body as everybody else. So like I said, 30,000 votes means we represent 30,000 voices. As far as for the Greek moratorium, I trust their leadership. They've been in tune with these communities, they come from these communities and are well aware of the needs that they have. But I think it also offers a great and excellent opportunity for them to get involved with other communities on campus. One thing I'm trying to do with the College of Arts and Letters Student Council is we're doing a crossover event with the College of Engineering just to really highlight and show what collaboration can do. And I think as far as the Greek community, they have a ton of great philanthropy events and a ton of members who are super dedicated, super involved. and obviously are able to connect with other students on things that they brought them to SDSU as well. So with this Greek moratorium, hopefully it offers an opportunity for all students to get connected to each other, get familiar with each other's backgrounds, and develop a kind of solidarity that we definitely need here on campus.
All right, any rebuttals? All right, sounds good. I'm going to start with you again, Michelle. What is the biggest issue facing SDSU next year, and how will you address this?
So one of the biggest issues, I know, coming from an intersectional background, there's a lot of things that inform our experience here. But one thing that brings us all together is things like student fees, things like tuition hikes, and the issue that Jerry Brown only decided to fund 1/3 of the CSU budget. That's going to impact all of us. CSSA is actively trying to advocate against the tuition hikes that are going to come up in order to cover the mandatory costs and fees. And what I want to do, like I said, with the 30,000 vote campaign, with the community resource program, and with all my efforts to build solidarity here on campus, is first raise students' awareness. As the Chief Communications Officer, I will not sit still if I can walk around campus and ask them, do you know about the 2018 midterm elections? And they don't have an answer. Do you know about the representatives who are representing us at the statewide level and even the local San Diego level, and they don't have an answer? I can't rest easy with that. I worked with Councilwoman Gomez and worked with her with local high school students to clean up the community. And I've seen that she cares about the student voice. She wants to be involved just as much as we do. So we want to continue to get students involved, continue to empower them, and continue to let them know that their experiences are important and valid.
Yes!
All right, Michael, same question. What's the biggest SDSU is facing next year, and how will you address this?
There are many different issues that we as students face that we need to fight for. However, as San Diego State University, as an entity, the biggest issue, the biggest problem that we will face next year, which I don't think is a problem, we need to acquaint the new president, Adela De La Torre, to this campus. She is new. We're not sure if she knows what our campus is about. We need to make sure that she's educated on issues that affect us. Through my experience as vice chair of the External Relations Board, I'll make sure that we have a Fall Rock the Vote campaign to educate all of our students on issues that affect us. Through my experience in the CSSA, I've done advocacy trips. I'll make sure that we fight for our students. The governor is proposing a tuition hike through the Board of Trustees. We need to make sure that we fight that. Through my experience, I'll make sure that our voice will never be silenced.
Yes! Woo!
All right, thank you very much. Michael's gonna ask next.
We're going to stick with you for this question. You're going to get first crack. Do you think transparency is important in student government, and what will you do to address issues of transparency within AS?
I think transparency is very important within student government. One of the things that Associated Students gets time and time again is that the leaders are not accessible to the students. So as your Chief Communications Officer, I'll make sure that all students have the capability to know what is happening in AS meetings every single week. By creating an AS business social media that will just publish what happens in Recreation and Wellness Commission, what happens in University Council, what happens in Campus Life Council, what happens in each of the college councils, what happens in University Affairs Board, what happens in External Relations Board, so that all students can know exactly what is going on, so that all students can have access to their student leaders and what the student leaders are proposing towards those students before it even comes to a vote. That way students will know what is coming up, what student leaders will be able to vote on, and so that they may voice their issues to the specific board, to the specific committee, to the specific commission on issues that will affect them.
Yes! Woo!
Same to you, Latrell. What does transparency mean to you, and what would you do in this position to address issues within AS?
To me, transparency is key. I've been a communicator all of my life, whether it's been in sports, whether it's been in leadership, whether it's been with my personal relationships. As a College of Arts and Letters Student Council President, I was able to invite members for the Nonprofit and Government Career Fair. What was an issue is that I wasn't aware and insensitive to the fact that California Border Patrol was going to come and represent and try to recruit college students. So what I did, in order to be accountable, in order to be transparent, in order to be accountable for my lack of understanding, lack of sensitivity, I met with student leaders here on campus. I spoke to them why that's an issue. And I can relate, the trauma of seeing a Border Patrol officer, if you're someone who's undocumented, if you have family that can relate to those kinds of issues, it's traumatizing. You can't outstep that. I have the same feelings when I see police officers. It's not something I can shake. It's not easy. So being transparent is never easy to do. And as far as being the chief communications officer, I will remain accountable and inform the students of exactly what's going on, whether it be student fee increases or referendums, to let every student know again that their voice matters and that they need to be involved with this decision-making process.
Any rebuttals? Okay. So, how important?
Oh my gosh, my back hurts. I need to drink some more water in my life.
Okay, starting with you, Lachelle. Sorry about that. How important do you think it is to be up to date on campus issues? How do you keep track of campus news?
So, keeping track of campus news, it's difficult if you're not involved. And a lot of students here, we have a big campus population, and our goal is always to get people involved as student leaders here on campus. So I stay in tune with issues with the communities that I represent, and then I seek out leadership from other communities that I don't identify with, because I know they have the best solutions, they have the best answers, they have the most awareness for what it is that they're going through. Like I said, being a Black and Filipino student here on campus, my intersectionality of experiences is somewhat limited. I mean, because there's a lot of identities that we identify here on campus that we have to aim to represent. As far as being the president of the College of Arts and Letters Student Council, being a part of the Rotaract Recruitment Committee, I've identified a number of different diverse groups here on campus and spoken to them directly about their issues, spoken to them directly about what they want to see here on campus, and take an active role in letting them know not only how I can be knowledgeable in doing my own research, but how I can help as an advocate and as an ally. I represent my community, but I also stand in solidarity with every single community here on campus, because I know we're going through the same experiences and we all need to be supported in order for our goals to be achieved. Thank you.
Okay, Michael, same question. How important do you think it is to be updated on campus news, and how do you keep track of campus news?
I believe it's very important to stay up to date with campus news. There are many things that go on throughout our campus on a day-to-day basis that most students don't even know about. Within each community, there is something going on. As your chief communications officer, I'll make sure to listen to the specific issues affecting each community. That way we, as students, can all come together under one roof and foster an inclusive environment where all opinions can be shared, and so that we as an SDSU community can come together and come to a solution. I stay up to date with campus news by talking to my friends, by talking to different people, by talking to different communities. As Vice President of Internal Affairs for the College of Arts and Letters Council, I'm in charge of communicating with these student organizations and making sure that our council stays up to date what's happening with every single organization within the College of Arts and Letters Council. I stay up to date by reading the Daily Aztec. I stay up to date by watching the news. I also stay up to date by going to various campus meetings that happen on a day-to-day basis and learning what's affecting each and every community. Thank you.
Woo! Yes, Michael! Woo!
No? Okay.
Okay, this will be the next to last question. I'm going to start with Michael. Can you give me 3 specific goals you have going into next year?
Of course. I would like to challenge all students to get involved with Associated Students by making sure that all students know what's going on, that we are transparent, and so that you, the student body, have the opportunity to change whatever you would like to change while you're here on campus. I'd also like to change the way people view politics. It affects us whether you like it or not. So we need to have our voices heard, we need to stay educated on the issues. Through my experience as Vice Chair of the External Relations Board, I'll plan a Fall Rock the Vote campaign to make sure that all students are educated on issues that affect us, because it is 2018, it is a midterm election season, and we need to know what's going on. I would also like to connect diverse groups of students to Associated Students. Traditionally, diverse groups have not been connected to Associated Students, feel as if they're being underrepresented, and we need to change that as a campus. We need to change that as Associated Students. By listening specifically to each and every community here on campus, I'll make sure that we connect these different organizations. Thank you.
Woo! Yes!
Okay, Lachelle, same question. What are 3 goals you want to accomplish in your position?
So like I've touched on before, I want to get that 30,000 vote initiative going. Once our SDSU students are able to show our legislators how serious we are about taking ownership of our own resources and how they're allocated to us, I want to expand that to the CSU system, which has nearly 500,000 students. Secondly, I want to ensure and vocalize that our administrators are accountable for stating to all students that this is a sanctuary campus, that all students deserve to pursue their education safely, that all students are protected, and that we have resources for them in order to ensure that they are integrated into our communities and they are loved and supported. And lastly, I want to increase the media presence here with our student advocacy groups and student leaders that are doing amazing things, whether it be high school conferences like APSA did from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. this past Saturday, or our various volunteering organizations that are extremely active here on campus. Our media presence definitely deserves to be well in tune and ingrained with the community here, and let San Diego leaders know exactly what it is that we're doing. Because as students, we are taking ownership of our experience. We are taking ownership of what we want to see 4 years from now after we graduate with our degrees. We are taking ownership of our future, and it's time for that.
All right. Our next question comes via Twitter. I'm going to hand this over to David Santillan, who's our social media editor, and he'll ask you the question. This will be to you, Latrobe.
It's fucking cold in here.
All right, so we have a question from Marissa here who's asking, Associated students recently took to a public stance on the ARC referendum and encouraged students to go yes. Since Associated Students is meant to be the voice of all students, how will you ensure that this happens and that AS does not push any bias?
Latrell first.
Yeah. So I hope we all recognize that with Associated Students taking on the Yes campaign, which is within every single right of them to do so, they were able to win that election, that vote, that referendum by 155 votes, with around 20% voter turnout. I mean, we have 30,000 students on this campus. Not all 30,000 students are using the ARC, and those who are using the ARC right now, we need to ask them how badly do they want this renovation. It will be a beautiful facility. I'm excited that it's going to be a sustainable facility because we definitely need more of those. But we just need to make sure that every student is involved in this decision-making process, and every student is aware when these votes are coming up. It being a referendum, it was only 2 days, and like I said, you can still walk around this campus right now, just outside of the union, and ask someone if they know that student fee increases will be increased by $195 per semester come 2021. That's going to affect our freshmen, that's going to affect future generations of SDSU students, and we need to do a better job of communicating that, being transparent, and I want to let everyone know that they are protected and they are represented. When it comes to increasing the burden on students, we will not stand for that with my team and my leadership.
Yes! Yes, sir!
Ask the question one more time. Associated students recently took a public stance on the ARC referendum and encouraged students to vote yes. Since Associated Students is meant to be the voice of all students, how will you ensure that this happens and that AS does not push any bias?
The ARC referendum did pass, but that does not mean that it's over for our students. This means that this is an opportunity for all students to get involved, to have your voice heard, and I challenge all of you to get involved. There will be a task force created for the ARC referendum so that during the creation of the ARC, all students are being heard, so that we can do our best to make sure that underrepresented students do not feel alienated by Associated Students. We need to make sure that all students are heard on this campus. And the ARC referendum did pass by 159 votes. And that's not a big margin. That's not a big margin at all. And we need to make sure that throughout this process, while the ARC is being built, before that fee increase is implemented in 2021, that we do all for our students, that we could figure something out together as student leaders for all students.
Yes! Yes! Let's go, Michael!
Okay, so we did get another question on social media.
Rebuttal?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. You guys want to rebut?
I'd like to rebut.
My apologies, go ahead.
So what we've seen historically, as far as leadership, I mean, dating back to the beginning of the country, minority issues are dangled as an accessory. Underrepresented issues are represented last. So when it comes to this ARC referendum, when we're gonna decide that we're gonna increase the financial burden on every single student here at SDSU, why is it that we wait until the end, we wait until it's passed to address how the financial aspect will affect everyone? Why is it that we wait till the end to address how underrepresented students and disaffected students will be represented? We need to take a proactive stance in doing this with our leadership, and that's something that I've done every single day up until this day, and we'll continue to do so next year.
Okay. All right, now this also comes via Twitter, so I'm going to hand it again over to David.
All right, this question comes from Lane Yazzie. The question is, what are your stances on the mascot, and are you for changing the mascot, yes or no?
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll start with Michael.
Michael.
I believe that the University Senate did pass a resolution last semester to re-examine the mascot and moniker. I believe that President Sally Roush is doing the correct thing by creating this task force to re-examine what this means for our campus, what this means for our students. Traditionally, students have been underrepresented, and the mascot, we cannot ignore that the mascot is affecting our students in a negative way. So we as student leaders need to do the best that we can to make sure that we hear all voices on this issue, to make sure that we can really stand together in solidarity and make sure that we can come up with what's best for this campus.
So I'm going to go ahead and follow up. Do you have a position on the mascot? Should it be changed?
The human representation or the moniker?
The question is just on the mascot.
Okay, so I believe that the mascot should be changed. We shouldn't have a human running around appropriating a culture that has been underrepresented all throughout history. We need to change the human representation of the mascot.
There's your yes or no.
All right. Same question. You want to read it again?
All right, so one more time. What are your stances on the mascot, and are you for changing the mascot, yes or no?
So I want to start by being clear. The SDSU mascot of the Aztec, the use of that is offensive. It does not appropriately represent the community that it addresses to represent, and it is racist, and we need to change it. As an SDSU student, as a person of color, I've identified with how pressures and social pressures can make us feel like we are alienated, that we are ostracized within our own community, and we need to change that. I hosted a discussion on the Black Panther movie, and the question came up about the appropriation of Black culture. And one of the professors on the panel said, before you ask me about wearing my cultural garb, about wearing a dashiki, about wearing things that empower me and give me energy as an African person, there are so many other things you can be doing as an ally to support me. So as the Vice President of External Relations and maintaining a healthy relationship with our local community, we need to maintain a healthy relationship with the indigenous population. Like I said, we stand on Kumeyaay land, and we need to better represent the Native community that surrounds us and make sure that they're involved in this process and that they know that we stand in solidarity and support with them.
Okay, thank you. Any rebuttals? Okay, so in the interest of moving things along, we're going to go ahead and have you guys give your 1 minute closing statements. So I think the last question we started with Michael, so I'll let you start with your closing statement, Michelle.
I just want all of us to sit and think, are we comfortable? Are we okay with student fee increases? Are we okay with tuition hikes? Because I know I'm not. I know I stepped into this position of leadership because typically AS has represented the same kinds of issues, the same kind of demographics, the same kind of organizations, time in and time out, and we need to start expanding our reach and expanding the voice, the collective voice here of SDSU. Like I said, as a person of color, as someone who has worked intimately with multiple multicultural orgs here on campus, I understand that these issues are not properly represented, that these issues are not properly addressed, that we are not proactive enough about how we address these issues for every single community here at San Diego State University, and I hope to do that every single day because I realize that advocacy is not a monthly thing. It's not just something that you show up to CSSA to one day in the month and complain about. It's something that you are proactive about every single day. And I intend to do so. I've done so with my work thus far, and I continue to want to empower students to engage others from other communities and let them know that their voice matters, their experiences matter, and I'm here to fight for them.
Thank you. Michael, 1 minute closing statement.
First off, I would like to thank the Daily Aztec for moderating this debate, and an even bigger thank you for all of you for coming out to hear our stances on these issues. I'm truly humbled to have the unique opportunity to serve as your next Chief Communications Officer. While serving as a legislative intern for Senator Connie Leyva, while serving as an intern for Congressman Mark Takano, while serving as a justice on the Judicial Affairs Council, while serving as Vice President of Internal Affairs for the College of Arts and Letters, while serving as Vice Chair of the External Relations Board, I am prepared to serve you in this role. I will challenge students to get involved. I will change the way you view politics. I will connect our students to associated students. Never in my life when I was growing up in a city where no one understood what it was like to be African, did I think that I would go to a university and run in student leadership for this role. So I'd like to thank all of you for coming out to show your support. My name is Michael Wiafe, and I'm ready to be your next Vice President of External Relations.
All right, thank you very much, guys.
frustrated. Thank you.
Okay, so next up, we're going to have our Vice President of University Affairs candidates, wherever they are, if they could come up.